Let's start by welcoming you to another webinar of ELTA Academy. My name is Marisa Monteiro Borsboom. I'm part of the ELTA board and leading the ELTA Academy. So today we have a very special guest, Luís Bravo Martins, that shares also this detail of being Portuguese, as I am. And Luís will come and talk about a very simple topic, as is the metaverse. And since we are now all very curious about what is coming, and nobody can live without internet, as you saw in the way we described this, how will we face all the challenges that come ahead, such as deepfakes, data leaks, security hazards, and so on and so on. And also, how do we protect our privacy? So while many are enthusiastic, others are already thinking about risk management and mitigation, and how can we also be in a world that is not an asset on itself. Luís is a professional, one of the first, I would say, in this topics of VR and AR, and I think he can be also providing also this feedback of how it is to grow in something that for so many, it's still not even a reality. So I think it's really important to have also the pioneers in this fields to also bring us that feedback. And I would like, Luís, to give you the opportunity. I know that you have a presentation for us today that you will share. So you will say a little bit about you for sure. And without no further ado, Luís, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marisa. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and ELTA for inviting. I am really, really happy to be here, and it's a pleasure, a real pleasure to be able to share a bit more about what the metaverse can be. And just give me a quick moment because I need to do a small chore here, but it's done. So I was telling you what the metaverse can be, because at this point, the metaverse is not right now done. And that's actually the moment where we are at this time. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to talk a bit more about what we want it to be. And of course, if we look back and if we had the time to think a bit more about what we wanted for Web 2.0, if we wanted what we wanted for the search engines, of course, the impact would probably be different. And it all boils down to that, to having time. So at this point and at this time, the issue is we do have that time, but to enable some level of steering and some level of regulation, and to actually provide the level of information and of service, and to connect the dots in the metaverse so that they align into what we dream of creating. We will certainly also need to look responsibly at it, and not just look past the hype, and talk a bit more about the technology itself and what it means. And I am not bearing, well, those greater news because there are a lot of topics that we need to consider. And that's why I'm really at this time, really excited to be here, because I firmly believe that legal professionals at this point are direly needed to not just understand what's at stake, but more than that, to start analyzing and proposing and discussing solutions, and also bringing points of view coming from their area of knowledge into the discussion that we're right now having in social, in society, and well, civil society as a whole. So I'm then going now to share my screen. So I'm going to do my presentation in 3 parts. So the first one focus on key concepts regarding, well, immersive technologies. And I'm going to focus the topic there. Then we're going to discuss a bit about this upcoming metaverse and what it means in a very broad sense. So we're not going to, don't expect a definition because it's not yet defined. So we're building it. And then afterwards, we're going to talk a bit more about, well, the issues, let's say like that, that socially, culturally, and individually we will be facing within the, let's say, common usage of immersive technologies and, well, metaverse technology. So I'm now going to share my screen. So hopefully you will be seeing a white screen, blue screen, and now probably an entrance card. So here it is. Perfect.
It's perfect.
Yes. So this, I start with one of the main streets here in Lisbon. I'm talking from Lisbon, by the way, and a vision of what might be an augmented vision or augmented world in like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 years. Well, and it all starts with, as you see, information being laid in front of us by the usage of, or by the means of smart glasses. And we tend to think that all of this will start, all of this transformation will start with smart glasses because they are the most, the kind of devices that we most connect with immersive technologies. And that's fair, but the issue is that we need to take a step back and look at the kind of formats that we have been working on regarding this piece of technology that you probably have in your pocket, which I also have here, called the smartphone, right? So I come from this time where smartphones were used to talk. So in the sense that the whole purpose of the smartphone was to enable voice content. So we exchanged voice, we had voice calls, and we even had voice messages. So you probably saw, some of you actually lived that, some of you probably saw that on movies. But the issue is that in the beginning, mobile phones were pretty much focused on voice, right? Along in the beginning of this century, we started seeing with the rise of SMSs, and then afterwards with the rise of conferencing tools that, for instance, you now see as WhatsApp. There were several others previous to that. You also saw text as another format that was being exchanged on mobile phones. With, again, in the middle of the first decade of this century, with the rise of, to begin with, messaging and the messaging and photo messaging, and then afterwards with Instagram, suddenly we started taking photos. And with YouTube and of late TikTok, we also started doing videos. So as you see, our smartphone has continuously brought more and more and more formats for us to communicate with. And these formats can all be produced by, well, us. And that's what boosts, what feeds Web 2.0 and social media, right? So content generated, user generated content. So in that sense, now we start to see this trend of 3D content coming to life. And that's a very, very impactful statement in the sense that, well, if we look around, it's not that visible, right? Everyone says, oh, well, but how come 3D content is now starting to happen, especially on the mobile phone? So, well, when that happens, and sometimes I tell this story to, well, several people that I talk with, and also I had this talk with several friends also, and I most of the times what I do is to tell them about my kid. I have now 8-year-old, and he at a given point in time he asked me about what I was seeing, because he didn't understand what it was, and I was visiting a website, and he understood that the scroll part. So he did know that if he scrolled with his finger, he could get more information. But what he wasn't really sure about was everything that was in there, because it had so much text and so many images and no video nor 3D. And he asked me, okay, but father, how does it work? How do these things go together? And well, I presented him the whole concept of the website, because for him, it's much easier for him to connect with this kind of format. Because right now, he is used to playing and interacting within this format. And mind you, we're not just talking about him. We're talking about 450 million users, and these are the registered ones in the official version of Minecraft. Then you have a lot of other players that are playing knockoffs of Minecraft. And this is just Minecraft, right? And you might say, okay, but Minecraft, these are kids. These are like, okay, I played Minecraft also, and you have a lot of people with more than 18 years old playing Minecraft. But let's say others, Roblox. You have, and not just for playing games. Right now, you have fully fledged 3D worlds that have, for instance, entertainment venues, like for instance, Fortnite. Fortnite is this platform that you're seeing right now, and this platform is right now populated by 350 million users, so a bit lower than Minecraft, but still very, very impactful. And during it had several concerts, several music concerts, so people actually entered the platform to attend a music event during the pandemic, okay, but still these people actually shared a musical experience, and we're not talking about a low number. So we're talking about 11.4 million simultaneous users having a digital experience and sharing a digital experience that we are sometimes connecting or exclusively connecting to physical events. And it's not like that. Right now, you have more than one generation that is, I would say, 3D oriented, that has the knowledge, that has the expertise, but more than that, that prefers to interact in 3D. And that, of course, leads us to have right now a lot of platforms that enable that 3D exploration becoming available. And we're talking, of course, about these gaming platforms. But more than that, also platforms like virtual reality and augmented reality. So now we're going to talk a bit more about these immersive technologies. And we'll start a bit by the numbers. So and why they're so important right now. Because again, when we talk about virtual reality, augmented reality, the trend is, oh, but this is something that is going to happen, but it was supposed to hit like the mainstream a long time ago. It didn't, so it's not exactly like that, because we should be aware, for instance, and this data that I'm presenting right now comes from Verizon. In 2020, okay, so this was COVID year. But mind you, we're talking about 32% of consumers that are connected through Verizon. They used augmented reality for shopping in the US. That's 1/3 of consumers using augmented reality for the specific purpose of shopping. So I'm not talking about education, I'm not talking about health, I'm not talking about tourism, I'm not talking about any other use case, just shopping. We're talking about 52 million adults in the US in 2020 using VR monthly. Now, add to the fact that in 2021, in the last quarter, Oculus Quest was known to have sold around 10 million Quest devices, just the Quest devices. Of course, they are the, let's say, most profuse producer of VR devices, but still, it's bigger than PlayStation. It's a number above PlayStation production. So it really is big, right? And talking about the visibility in business, this is the projection. So we're talking about something that right now is around 27 million. In 2020 was 12 million, and its forecast for 2024 is 72.8 billion. I said million, but it's billion, sorry, US dollars of market size. This is really, really impactful. So this is say that we're not talking about something that is going to happen. We're talking about something that right now is happening. We're talking about something that is being right now lived by people, right? So what are we then talking about? We're talking about virtual reality and augmented reality. Let's clarify those two technologies, or these two realities that we have in front of us. So the first one, virtual reality, is the replacement that we do. It's replacing physical reality by a digital one. So we do that by or through a headset that, as you see, is a headset that allows us to have a 360 dedicated vision into a fully digital world. So first thing that you should know about a virtual reality experience, it's dedicated in the sense that, for instance, right now, as you saw in the beginning of this talk, I had to stand up because I was solicited to do something there, and then I needed to come back here and sit down. This wouldn't happen in VR, because in VR, I would not hear it, I would not see it. My senses are dedicated to the VR experience, right? So it's immersive. At the same time, it's unique in the sense that all VR experiences do not need to respect the same laws of the world, of the physical world as we know it. So this means that I can fly in VR. I can teleport myself to the end of the, to the bottom of the sea, and then in the next second be on the surface of the moon and have a talk with someone there. It's very, very, very impactful. And due to these, let's say, very unique experiences, and to the immersive part or characteristic that it has, the issue is that virtual reality creates memories, impactful memories. And that's really a very, very, it's one of the main reasons why we call it reality and not an experience. Because while you're there, you are actually interacting, living, and remembering, and you will remember that that time of your life, you spent it inside that context. You interacted with people inside that context. So not outside. Everything that happened outside in the physical world while we were in there, in world, you actually don't remember. So for all intents and purposes, your life happened there, your memories come from there. That's why we're talking about a reality, not an experience, a virtual experience. We're talking about a virtual reality onto which I can board and go into. So this is different from augmented reality, because if we're talking about on virtual reality of the replacement of physical reality by a digital one, on augmented reality, we're talking about overlaying digital objects on top of the physical world. So what does this mean? This means that, for instance, I can, if my coffee machine breaks down, then I will need to repair it, or I will need to ask someone. But if I have like the ability to overlay instructions on top of my coffee machine that enable me step by step to fix everything, sorry, that needs to be fixed in my coffee machine so that I can have my coffees again in a quick and timely manner, then great, I will do that. But mind you, I am not, in the beginning of the experience, I am not able to repair the coffee machine. I am just able to perform what the augmented reality instructions being overlaid on top of the coffee machine allow me to understand I should do. So this means that through augmented reality and through these overlaid digital objects, what I can do is actually change the meaning I perceive from objects and from places. And this is truly impactful because, again, it's not immersive in the sense that you are not thrown into a different concept or a different world. You are at that point seeing a version of that reality that is augmented with digital, one or several digital elements, right? That's really, really important. And it's something that we need to pick up. We will pick up afterwards because it kind of makes that reality, I wouldn't say unique, but very specific, right? And maybe people that are right next to me, they are not seeing the same thing I am seeing. Okay, so the first takeaway I want to share is this one. So we're talking about digital realities and digital elements. And we all know and we all agree that digital is not physical. What I am right now saying and what I'm suggesting is that digital is also real. And right now we have the tools that make digital become part of our reality. And we will and are right now spending parts of our lives already in 3D platforms, and some of us already spend parts of our lives in virtual reality and in augmented reality enhanced experiences, of which we have a specific memory, which is not, again, the memory that other people have when they are in the same place as we are. So again, talking a bit more about numbers. So for instance, we had Jean-Michel Jarre, he did this really big New Year's Eve event, New Year's Eve 2021, with 72 million people. So of course, not all of them were in VR, but still very, very impactful. And it was, I think, the first New Year's Eve that happened in virtual reality. So kudos to that. We already have VR unicorns. Rec Room is the first one. There are several others that are starting to appear, but this to say that it's a market that is blooming. And of course, talking about augmented reality is talking about, well, the first game that actually brought in the term to the public knowledge, let's say like that. You have Pokemon Go that is still strong in the tops of mobile gaming. It broke 5 world records of usage. And it was one of the first games the first game to break the barrier of 1 billion users or 1 billion installations. So all in all, it was truly impactful to showcase just the concept of us seeing Pokemons, that said, like digital elements, digital animations throughout our physical world. Of course, of late, we have seen several other applications, like, for instance, filters. So most of you, I guess, have used like filters when talking through Facebook, Instagram, Snap. You have a lot of social networks that allow us to like try on glasses, put on like weird hats and stuff, and that recognize our hands, recognize our faces, and again, enhance through augmented reality our communication and our video feed with several other elements. Of course, very much they were focused on or they are focused on advertising and marketing, but still, this to say that you have a lot of applications coming from filters. Like, for instance, saw this wonderful filter that I'll be happy to share when I find it. But I saw that once, which was a filter that allowed me to participate in a play. When I said something, so it would start by me saying something or saying text, my line, and then out came at the end the other actor that is in the same scene with me, replying to me, and back and forth. I would be participating in this in this play that was actually being announced. So this is to say that there are really creative ways to communicate through augmented reality, through virtual reality, and they are already being used. So we're not talking about the future, we're talking about the past. We're talking about technologies that are right now in usage, and again, that will be even more used with, of course, drum roll, the metaverse. Okay, so talking a bit about what it isn't, because I think that's the best approach we can have at this time. So we do know that at this point we are seeing a convergence of exponential technologies, like again these two that I just referred, 5G, IoT, AI. There are a large array of technologies that are converging to a point that they will merge. What does this mean? This means that our digital experience will probably merge with our physical experience. And that's the vision of the metaverse. So we're talking about having a persistent, multiplayer, interoperable, which means like the web, I can pretty much go anywhere with my own identity, and we'll go through this, but still interoperable, open, decentralized, and of immediate access network that will allow me to, in the same way, connect and use digital, connect and interact with digital places and digital objects and digital representations of people, as well with physical places, physical objects, and physical people. So all in all, this to say that right now, again, as I said, a number of technologies are enabling this. And to begin with, for instance, the fact that you have multiplayer and that you have several of these technologies becoming more and more complete, that is right now only being enabled by 5G. So it's the first technology that has the speed, the reduced latency, and the ability to stream so many, or the level of experiences and the number of experience needed, so that we can actually say that we have a multiplayer or multi-user technology. The fact that it's persistent actually depends on having the networks or the systems having the ability to recognize previously where people are. That's why right now you have a lot of companies like Microsoft, like Niantic, that actually creates Pokemon Go, or created Pokemon Go and several other games in the same line. You have Apple kind of scanning and allowing our devices to scan spaces and creating small or sending the information of those spaces, those scans into the cloud. Of course, these scans will enable then afterwards for someone to put on top of these scans or on top of these places the augmented reality experiences, and for them to become available to anyone accessing. So that's the whole purpose of the multi-usage. Now, of course, this can be done like to a restaurant table, but it can also be done to, well, cities, right? And that's the whole purpose. So to create like a digital twin of the world. And right now you have several companies already working on that. You have several companies already working on creating more than like, for instance, creating maps and geographical information, actually having volumetric information regarding the world, right? And when I say persistent, that actually means yet another thing. It means that it's constantly updated, right? So it's not just about doing one scan. So, but this is pretty much what enables us, all of us, to have all the huge benefits that the metaverse can bring. Again, we're talking about a number of technologies converging. Today, we're going to talk or to focus a bit more on immersive technologies. There's yet another side that relates a bit more with blockchain. And at a user level, I guess these are the two ones, or the two main ones, that might make sense for us today to explore. I will go much deeper on the immersive technology side, and then I will do some references regarding blockchain. But on the Q&A, you are more than welcome afterwards to also explore that topic. But this is say that you have a lot of great, huge benefits from interacting with virtual reality and augmented reality, be them from the education perspective, from the possibility to enable telemedicine in ways and with a range of detail that is not even close to the one that we right now have. So much better. It transforms work, it transforms people. It allows, for instance, through virtual reality, that students can understand historical contexts, that people that are in like grandmothers that are right now at homes, in care homes, they can actually sit down with their families remotely for dinner. So those kind of holoportation scenarios are ways that enable or that justify the whole impact that we're bringing. There are a lot of them right now. For instance, I unfortunately I didn't present myself. I see now in the beginning, so I'm Luis Martins, and I had the marketing of Kitayar. And Kitayar is a company that is focused on the quality assurance for the manufacturing shop floor. So we do augmented quality assurance. That's pretty much it. So and it's yet another application of augmented reality, in the sense that we enable instructions to be seen through augmented reality, or with or overlaid on top of the equipment, step by step. We also have several other features, like for instance, the ability also to automatically control through machine learning how, if everything was well done and if the output is the expected one. But overall, this is say that we transform how people do their jobs, and we reduce errors and waste significantly in our customers. And this is, again, just applying technologies, immersive technologies that are now being applied for, again, several other use cases, like, again, tourism, education, training, all of that. And to interact with all these elements that we're talking about, our interaction right now is much more natural, because until now, when using desktop, we had to use this odd thing that someone invented called the mouse, which no one actually knows what it is. But we just created this to interact with digital content, right? And same thing with keyboards. But now we have the ability with 3D content on our mobile phone or using smart glasses to interact using our eyes, interact using our voice, using our gestures, or even using body movement, right? So this is say that suddenly content becomes not just 3D, but also spatialized. And this is also another key takeaway I would like to pass on to you. So we're talking about content, 3D digital content becoming available around us, right? And by our interaction, we are able then to generate and to leverage and to perform a lot of tasks that we weren't able to until this point. But by doing all of these tasks, should be aware that we are all generating just one thing. So when we're talking about, like, for instance, interacting with a lot of specific, let's say, devices like IoT, for instance, in industry, with your Google Home, with Alexa, whatever, you are receiving and you are generating data on devices. When we're talking about scanning places, we're talking about scanning objects. We're talking about data on objects, data on cities, data on buildings. And when we're talking about this interaction that we just referred, we're talking about biometric data, right? We're talking about behavioral data. That's pretty much where we are right now, right? Now let's take a step back again to Web 2.0. So I work in marketing. As I said, I am Chief Marketing Officer. And as you may acknowledge, marketing was the key driver behind search engines and social media. Marketing is the absolute enabler of, and that allows for search engines like Google to stay alive, because that's pretty much the revenue model that they have, right? And why does it work? Well, it works because both social media and search engines, they are able to target us, profile us, right? And how do they do that? Well, they do that with a lot of information that we pass on to them. Right now, we have GDPR. Well, as you know much better than me, our interaction, what I do know, as you know, is that our interaction with regarding consent on GDPR is much similar to the one that we have with a pop-up, right? So a pop-up appears that says, well, to access this website, you need to click here. And people that typed in or clicked to access that website will probably click there to access the website. They are not, at this moment, educated to read it. And that's one of the main problems that we have right now. Because right now we are used to using. We're not used to think. We're not educated. Because no one educated us. We didn't have time for that. We started using social networks. We started using search engines because it's good, because it provides a lot of benefits. But at the same time,
Luis,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but to give you a notion of time, since you mentioned time, now we are now at 40 minutes past the beginning of the webinar, so we can kind of give you a little bit of information and in your presentation, so we can save some time for Q&A.
Perfect. I'm actually entering the last part. where I'm going to share with you a bit of what's happening right now with the metaverse. So all of this topic regarding the metaverse started with, as Mark Zuckerberg in October presenting the rebranding of Facebook into Meta. And that's pretty much when the whole concept of the metaverse started to be discussed on mass media, and everyone seemed to like acknowledge that this concept was already being was important enough for us to be focused on. The issue is that right now, within the metaverse and within these immersive technologies, and extended reality. So we're talking XR is like a catch-all concept that entails virtual reality and augmented reality and other realities, but for our presentation purpose, these two. And XR data is defined as what's collected, inferred, processed, and shared from both consumers and bystanders. This is a very, very important part, to create and facilitate immersive experiences. And right now, mind you, we're talking about probably the biggest CCTV network in history, because we're talking about smart glasses with cameras, right? Right now, they are already there, right? Already here, you already have like Ray-Ban and Facebook publishing these devices, pushing it forward. And it's really important that it's not, this XR data includes not just personally identifiable information, but also biometrically inferred data and sensor data that enable pretty much the whole experience technologically. So it really is important to realize that at this moment in time, we do not have any legal protections related to most of this data. And most of this data is being processed by with the hat of research. And that's pretty much it. So it really is important to realize that at this time, it's possible that XR data is leading to some level of human rights violation, in the sense that it's not like keeping our privacy in. But let's take it one step further. For instance, I work in marketing. There's a discipline called neuromarketing in which we can actually work our ways into picking up these topics and trying and steer one's thought towards a specific area using neural programming language, using, several specific techniques. It's safe to say that in an immersive context, we need to think about the possibility of having a right to free thought. Because right now, we have a right to free speech, but we will be in several ways conditioned, and we can be conditioned in immersive environments and contexts by third parties. Let me also share you this one. So this is part of the latest Meta patents. So it's called an avatar personalization engine. And actually, it's called another thing. It's called I don't know exactly. Well, but again, it's avatar customization, and it aims to simulate every user down to every skin pore, every strand of hair, every micro movement to create their own avatar. So we're talking about creating 3D replicas of people, places, and things to actually interact directly within the metaverse. So what we're talking about here is something that could be seen as a human cloning program, but in digital context. This is the patent that right now is published, right? So this to say, it's already happening, and it would be interesting and important to have someone from the regulation side also to look at it. Again, The ability for you to own your identity, to own your own data, really, truly important. And again, across a number of places. Right now, you have a lot of companies that when they block access to an account, they don't give you your data because it's not your data, it's their data. So it's really, really important in the next iteration of the internet to have that. Also to have the possibility to label AIs and to identify AIs that right now can be done to this level of detail. You have digital humans that will be populating the metaverse. And it's important for us to know that we're not talking, or that we are talking to one of them. Same thing with ads. And finally, same thing also with, well, the rights of augmentation that I need to have. I need to be able to access public digital content that is augmented, but at the same time, I need to consent to augmentation in my property. There are a lot of companies right now selling augmented reality experiences in streets, in several streets in the world. And probably they are not obtaining the consent of anyone on those streets to allow them to, well, have like augmented reality experiences from this or that brand in their lawn. So that's also a very important part that we need to consider. At the same time, what should be and shouldn't be augmented or digitally seen on public spaces. Finally, what is true? If I have a shared public space that is becoming thinner and thinner, and I see things in a different way from you, but I'm standing right next to you, it's not about fake news, it's about fake truth or different kinds of truth, right? Because my memory of what I'm seeing is really different from what you're seeing, because it's tainted with the digital augmented content that, well, I am seeing, right? And finally, this is actually my last slide on, just before concluding, the fact that we have nations, the fact that we have a lot of platforms, a lot of digital countries right now happening, where people can actually buy land, they can vote on decisions, they have their own economy, they have sometimes their own coin, they have specific jobs. Suddenly we have, well, in the metaverse, several nations that right now are rising, right? So how can people that have pretty much these digital worlds with their own economy, with democratic approaches, and worlds that they can restyle to their own wishes, if they have all of this, what will drive people to build a better physical world? And how will digital nations rising in the metaverse give way to digital governments, different from the ones that we have on the physical world? So food for thought for the Q&A. So last slide, digital is not physical, digital is also real. That's pretty much my last, and it was also the first key takeaway. Sorry for well, stretching it, but that's pretty much it. Thank you for having me, thank you for this, and really looking forward to the questions.
Well, Philippe, Luis, I'm so sorry to call you Philippe. For us, it's very important to have these discussions, because as you're saying, we cannot even define it yet. And in a civilization, the way to understand reality is also by communication, per se. So if we cannot understand the concepts, how can we even define reality? And if we cannot understand what the metaverse is, we can start at least understanding what is not, but we can still try to stir it. And I was seeing an interview with Mr. Musk on AI, but I think it's applicable to this topic as well. saying, well, technology normally doesn't like to be regulated. I'm not very fond of having heavy regulations, but we need to start regulating because we do for so many other parts of life. You don't have planes being built without regulation. You don't have cars being built without regulation. And for that, it's really important that we go to the basics of the basics of these thoughts, so we can start also building layers of augmented intelligence of what we are talking about. So for that, I think it's really important to have this kind of presentations. But we have Magnus Jones saying, what's your thoughts on using MetaMasks as your ID in the metaverse?
Yeah, MetaMask is well, one of the most known, probably the most renowned wallet. Using wallets as your ID or your single ID is a great way within Web3 doctrine, let's say like that, to safeguard your identity and to safeguard your data across several platforms. And of course, makes a lot of sense. I do believe that that's pretty much where we're going towards. And at the same time, because of that, and now going a bit more into the blockchain side, let's say, of the metaverse, because of that, we will have a lot of transformations on our relationship, for instance, with money, because it will become cryptos, I'm guessing, or I'm expecting that they will become much more of a part of our lives and lifestyle, rather than just fiat currency. And that will enhance our ability to not just do business and participate in specific initiatives, like for instance DAOs and other kinds of token propelled initiatives, let's say like that. But this to say that clearly you have a lot of there's a huge difference by the usage or when using these kind of wallets, because suddenly you are able to not just again accelerate, but also become much more aware of how to invest, how to interact, and suddenly money also and cryptos also sometimes relate directly to communities. So then suddenly the fact that you have that coin kind of shows something about yourself. So it's also part of how you express yourself. So I think that we will, same thing with NFTs. So I think that the way that things are moving forward will definitely have or take that into account. And of course, the issue right now is how to make it a standard, and that's
and who knows if a new profession like art is being evaluated for the replicas and what is real. We will start having the people that are the reality experts. What is real and what is not real? Someone will have that job. James Kellogg is asking, first thanking you for the overview, of course, and can you share any of the main software companies and also nonprofit groups such as IAB focused on XR data sovereignty and privacy? Can you share? Did
I
you
can,
Luis?
sure. I can share two of them regarding, so two NGOs that are focused on data privacy and data sovereignty. So the first one is XRSI, which it's this XR Safety Initiative. They had, so if you go to xrsi.org, you will see a bit more about what the foundation is all about. It's focused on promoting safety and privacy within extended reality spaces. And it actually just launched an XR data classification effort. And you as a volunteer can also participate in the next one that I think is set for like 2 months from now, something like that. They also have a privacy framework that you can right now download and start looking into that deals that relates directly with the interaction levels. Yeah, I will. With the interaction levels that you have with the between the users and the platforms. Sorry, the technologies. So we're talking about how to provide consent, how to provide alerts, how well, again, how responsible interaction with these platforms can happen. Then you also have the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF. They also have a focus on that. W3C also has working groups on the metaverse, so you should definitely also check them out. And then you also have, I think it's responsibletech.com, where you can also tap into. You can also tap into to know a bit more about not just extended reality and the metaverse topics, but overall usage, responsible usage of technology. Regarding companies that deal specifically on that, I'm just recalling one. Actually, I don't recall the name. Let me just check because I really don't want to miss it. So it's, yeah, Prifina. Yeah. So I'm going now to write it down alongside with the other. So it's Prifina.com. So Prifina is actually a platform. It's a startup. It's a platform that enables you to have your data just on Prifina. So it is what it is, but it's an effort, and it's something that it's another way of creating some level of ownership of your data. And please go through the terms and conditions and see if and do check if they are validated. That's it. And then XRSI. It's xrsi.org, and the Electronic Frontier Foundation is EFF.org.
And that is already so much for us to follow up. I don't know if you want us to share your LinkedIn profile, Luis.
Sure.
And I think it's important that we connect. We have so much to learn, and we can learn in the next years together. We also can shape our own world. Hopefully we are still capable of doing so. And with that, we are at 1 minute to end our webinar. I hope that everybody enjoyed this webinar and that it was useful. That's the aim of the Academy. We hope to see hope to see you more in the
Absolutely.
future, and counting, of course, with the challenges that we will need to overcome. So many new concepts, many new realities, and we all will need a lot of training, of course, to keep up. So with that in mind, thank you so much, Julia, and everybody from ELTA that made this webinar possible, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.